Tonight, the community divided over a piece of play equipment deemed dangerous in Port Lincoln, and Whyella bears the brunt of impacts from the pandemic.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. A fight's brewing in Port Lincoln to save a playground's train engine after the City Council proposed removing the iconic piece following a safety scare. A decision has been made to postpone the removal, with another risk assessment to be undertaken.
It doesn't matter which side of the tracks you're from, the Port Lincoln Train Playground has always held a special place in the community's heart and history.
Yeah, a bit of an icon that's been there for many years.
But following a recent incident involving a child, a number of risks have been identified. The locomotive now running out of track as the Port Lincoln Council discuss whether to remove it from the playground, an issue that's received instant backlash and claims the community is being wrapped in cotton wool.
Yeah, it would be a bit of a waste of an iconic attraction for the kids over the years.
Following the council's announcement, frustrated community members have banded together with a petition to save the train, gaining more than 600 signatures. A councillor also put forward a motion to have the decision rechecked. Because of that, the removal's been postponed until another safety assessment is undertaken.
Been there for several years, or the second one there after many years with the previous one that's been restored, but no, I think it's something that's important to the kids in the community.
Since 1963, Port Lincoln's iconic train playground has always had a locomotive, a special nod to the city's rich railway history. In 1982, the original steam engine was rolled off to Pitchy Ritchie Railway and was replaced by the current train.
It would be a pity to lose the railway connection. This has always been the train park in Port Lincoln, and it'd be lovely to see that concept maintained.
A council meeting will be held later this month to try and get the right train of thought on what to do.
I take my grandchildren there now, and I used to take my kids there all the time, and it was a great attraction for them to climb up and down on the train, and I think it should be left there.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A 40-year-old Risdon Park man has been arrested following a major drug operation at a home on Cunningham Boulevard yesterday morning. South Australia Police allegedly located a clandestine laboratory at the premises, along with suspected methamphetamine and cannabis. Local police, a drug detector dog and a specialised task force were involved in the operation. The man has been bailed to appear in court in October. The Chief Executive of the Far West's Health District says Broken Hill's case is strong when it comes to exemptions to South Australia's border laws. With no coronavirus cases since late March, the Silver City has a clean bill of health.
SA's Transit Committee will meet tomorrow, and it's likely they'll discuss border communities like Broken Hill and whether they should be allowed in. The region's health district believes the Silver City has a point to make.
Certainly, I think our record really speaks for itself, that we have been COVID-free for a long, long time.
The city's strong ties to SA are well known, whether it be for medical, educational or personal reasons.
Hope that there would be a soft spot, if you like, in discussions from SA. And we do have very close, obviously, relationship with South Australia.
More than 1,000 coronavirus tests have been conducted in Broken Hill, more than 50% of total Far West COVID tests. Across the region, over 52,000 screenings have been carried out. Following fears of a second wave in Victoria, the Far West Health District has updated its screening questions.
Anyone who comes back from Melbourne, in general, will be screened, and if they exhibit any symptom, they'll be certainly asked to self-isolate.
Even as New South Wales lowers restrictions on gatherings, events and venues, local health buildings will still keep their current safety measures.
Given that we care for the most vulnerable in the community, I guess we have to be considered somewhat differently to the general community.
Patrick Royenke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, a big celebration for a birthing program with a special lady delivering her 100th baby, and a major event in Broken Hill, the next to be cancelled because of the pandemic. Welcome back. An exciting milestone has been reached by an Aboriginal health practitioner who this morning helped deliver her 100th baby at the Port Augusta Hospital. Darnell Amos came into the world healthy and happy amongst a lot of tears and celebration.
It's the miracle of life, and today this little boy marks a special place in Caroline Dalgetty's heart.
Today was really good, so it was a caesarean section, planned one, and so once the baby was out, I was able to get the baby from the doctor.
This baby marks her 100th delivery. Looking back, Caroline still remembers her first.
It was a really nice birth, and so that was about 10 years ago, so, and then the 100th one today.
It made me feel lucky for him being the 100th.
Celebrating the milestone today with colleagues who say her dedication as an Aboriginal maternal infant carer is amazing.
Caroline is gorgeous. She was actually a mum on our program as a young 15-year-old, so she knew the role that the AMIC workers did, and I think she aspired to be on the program after she had her first baby.
Working in partnership with the Anangu Bibi birthing program, Caroline says she's blessed to do the work she does.
It's a really good feeling, especially because you've watched, and been there with the mum throughout the whole pregnancy. So in this program we get that continuity of care, we get to know the mum, and then we're there for the delivery, so we know what her wants and needs are.
Baby Darnell is Nikita's fourth little miracle that Caroline's welcomed to the world.
Yep, she's been there, seen it all grow up, and did her best part that she could for it.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Whyella filmmaker is calling for locals to become part of a new video series project which is hoped will be scooped up by a TV network. Each episode engages with different community members, starting a conversation around some of society's biggest issues.
Lights, camera, action. This local filmmaker setting up the scene for a promising project.
Filming a short video series that we hope to turn into a television series, and it's called If I Could Say One Thing.
Each episode touching on an important issue within the community, such as depression, racism and domestic violence.
This gives our participants an opportunity to really think deeply about these issues and to also have a message recorded for the wider community.
Country Arts SA providing grant money for the project, going towards equipment such as microphones and stage setups. It's part of a quick response grant that artists can apply for.
The major grant rounds for Country Arts are about to open and they will close on the 17th of August. So for projects commencing after the 1st of January 2021, if you can believe that.
The funding set to support art and cultural projects within regional communities.
There's also a big round of money coming from the federal government in this financial year too, a boost fund they're calling it. So there's a bit of extra injection of funds into the arts community, which will be amazing.
Whyella City Council also on board, in the process of drafting an art and cultural community plan to present at Monday's council meeting.
Really great to see firstly people taking this amazing initiative and doing their own thing, but also telling our stories. That's really what arts and culture is all about.
The first season is 6 episodes. And we also have an episode dedicated to children.
Richard calling on locals in the community to get involved.
If you're interested, please just email me at richard@dreamthink.com.au.
The first episode is set to be ready for August. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The sale of gas cylinders across Australia could soon have warning labels on them following the tragic death of Port Lincoln teenager Paddy Ryan. An industry-wide agreement made yesterday will see suppliers and distributors of barbecue gas cylinders have voluntary labels which outline the danger and injury caused by inhaling gas. Paddy's father, Adrian Ryan, has been lobbying for better safety of the cylinders since Paddy's death in February. A new report has revealed Whyella is one of 5 regional areas in South Australia most affected by COVID-19 economic impacts. The study, conducted by 70 agricultural groups, outlines how allocating funding into conservation and land management programs within rural towns can benefit locals. The report, conducted by Ernst & Young, outlines a proposed plan which aims to employ more workers and restore jobs within the Whyella community.
Its purpose is to show how investing in land management and conservation can generate tens of thousands of jobs across Australia, help regional communities and also provide a lot of much needed investment in our natural environment.
The other South Australian regions include Yankalilla, Kangaroo Island, Victor Harbour and Mount Barker. Stay with us after the break. Port Lincoln musicians making a difference on the other side of the world. And Central Oval prepares for its first footy game of the season. Welcome back. After almost a year since the donation of instruments and sheet music to a Ugandan charity, Port Lincoln City Band has received an inspirational message of thanks from the organisation. The Saved by Music Foundation helps vulnerable children and uses music to help raise vital funds.
Music to the ears for Port Lincoln City Band as 20 Ugandan musicians perform on the instruments donated to them from Down Under.
It was fantastic. I'm just amazed at sitting in my lounge room in the evening and suddenly this video pops up from Freddie in Uganda and there's these kids playing this music that we just sent over.
Last year, a contingent of 6 members from Port Lincoln packed their bags full of instruments and flew across the globe, arriving in the African nation to hand deliver them to the orphanage.
It was very emotional. They just came out and just got so excited, really genuinely excited.
Around 40 people are supported by the Saved by Music Foundation, which helps take in orphans off the dangerous streets and uses the power of music to earn money, go to school and keep the lights on.
And this is their only form of income, so they can do street parades, they can do weddings, they can do businesses opening.
The Port Lincoln City Band handed over 2 cornets and a tuba, now being put to good use after decades of gathering dust.
Well, so much better for these people over there that really treasure them to get something out of it rather than sitting in our cupboard.
After months of the organisation having their instruments, Port Lincoln's band sent off some extra sheet music, but went on its own journey, feared lost in the mail.
Just 3 weeks ago we got notified that it had actually been sitting in the Ugandan post office under a different name for 3 months. So luckily we got it.
The band now learning some Aussie hits to add to their repertoire. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The night to recognise the Far West's outstanding businesses has had to be postponed due to the coronavirus. Regional Development Far West made the decision to push back the event until next year.
It's normally the night of nights for businesses.
A really important night for most of our businesses locally and obviously growing with, I think, more than 4,500 nominations last year, more than 300 people attending the gala night.
But sadly, this year's Excellence in Business Awards will not go ahead, with RDA Far West forced to cancel due to COVID-19 concerns. The uncertainty of the restrictions going forward and potential impact within the region leaving the committee with little option.
Nobody knows what that situation's going to look like in October when we normally conduct the business awards as well. I guess the committee's also considered, if we get to that point and restrictions come back in, then what do we do with the gala night?
Globe Timber and Hardware took home last year's major honour, the Outback Spirit Award. The business puts in nominations every year.
Getting together with your other business colleagues and getting your staff together, all sitting around a table is fantastic, and to get an award is great recognition for the hard work.
There is some good news though, with RDA Far West still planning to press on with its annual Careers Expo. However, it does plan to push the event back from August to October.
The opportunity for our businesses to meet with our students, but also meet the needs of our students for that Careers Expo. So we know it's critically important. At this stage, looking at a date mid-October, and if we need to push that out, we'll push that out. Organisers
say they will work closely with the schools to make sure the event can go ahead. Patrick Ryanke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Augusta's Central Oval turf will finally get its debut on the weekend, with the footy season kicking off. With restrictions in place, the facility can welcome up to 1,000 people.
In just a couple of days, this scoreboard will be turned back on. Players will be on the field and spectators will fill the boundary lines.
Just excited to have action back onto Central Oval and get the place vibrancy back up again.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, behind us we've got our fresh, pristine new turf ready to have sportsmen run on and enjoy their game of football. It'd be great to see this facility filled again with families and loved ones supporting the players.
Bringing back the local league was always on the fence, but the decision to kick off has been widely welcomed.
Sport is such a social fabric of any small town, and Port Augusta is no different. To have some form of sport here is just great for the community to come out and support and be part of what they've been part of for the last 100 years.
Saturday's clash will see Centrals take on West, the first two teams to sink their boots in.
And it'll be an exciting moment for these teams that run out on this field. They've never done this on this type of ground before here, and it's history for Port Augusta in a good way.
Staff busily prepping for the weekend's event, the start date brought forward by a week.
The SGL in their wisdom has decided to come back a little bit earlier, or their excitement, to come back earlier, so trying to rush plans to get through and making sure everybody's up to speed on what's required.
But those plans are well on track and will allow the facilities to be used by spectators.
Current restrictions allow the sale of food and allow the sale of alcohol. People can come back down and have a beer and have a pie and watch the footy and get back to some sort of normality. So yeah, it should be a great atmosphere.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll hear from the experts with this week's fish and tips, and we'll have the weather with Britt. Hello again. Now let's see where the fish are biting around the region with this week's fish and tips.
Welcome another week around the Golf Fishing Tips. It's amazingly cold at the moment, but it's a great thing because our King George whiting are going off. Yeah, over the last weekend I've seen some really huge fish coming in through the Port Pirie area. They were a little bit further to the west, so some of you anglers start having some good spots out there. Please have a shot of them. We're also looking at squid. I still cannot believe that we've got squid still at this particular time. They only last for about 6 weeks. And it looks like they're going to last for 6 months now. So get out there and make the most of those ones. But don't forget some of the other species that you will find as well, as in like with your salmon and so forth. There's plenty of those around at the moment. So that's all we've got this week. We'll see you next week.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, kingfish are up at the moment. People will be a little bit secret squirrel about where they are, but I'd be trying up around the train bridge and particularly down around the old powerhouse site and also the mouth of Chinaman Creek and around to Port Patterson as well. King George whiting is starting to be found in better numbers and also bigger size as well. Lots and lots of squid around. Been lots of garfish and tommies around. Try those moonless nights. A nice calm night, get out there and start dabbing for them. There are crabs still around us out in the deeper channels as well. Try the slack tide and just obviously let that first net soak for a fair bit before they start coming on the bite, and then you should get a feed. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start over the Coffin Bay side. There's been plenty of good reports coming through over there. Mainly whiting through the farm beach grounds up through Gallipoli into Frenchman's. There's been quite a few good fish caught and also some nice gummy sharks. So there's been quite a few caught on whiting lines, but also a few caught on slop lines just set out the back. So it's always worthwhile having a bigger bait set. Moving back to Port Lincoln, there's been some good reports of squid over the past week, with the boaties getting a few, especially up along the North Shore, and also the local jetties producing a few squid as well. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
Now for a look at the rest of your week's weather, here's Britt Aylen.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. Maximum sat around the average today, with Port Augusta recording the region's high of 17 degrees. Whyella also reached 17, Port Pirie and Woodness 16, Broken Hill 15, Port Lincoln, Kadina, Cleve and Coffin Bay all reached 14 degrees today, as did Adelaide. Clare had a high of just 12. Looking to the skies now with today's satellite images. As you can see here, cloud crossed South Australia today with a strong cold front bringing showers to the south and the odd light shower as far north as Woodna, Whyalla and Port Pirie. Further north, skies remained relatively clear with dry winds. Moving on to tomorrow, on the waters, winds west to northwesterly at 10 to 15 knots with seas between 1 and 2 metres with south to southwesterly swells. And let's see how things are looking near you tomorrow. Starting with Port Lincoln, showers with a top of 16 degrees. Much the same at Cleve, Woodna with a morning shower or two clearing to a partly cloudy day, a high of 17. Partly cloudy at Whyella, a top of 18 tomorrow. Port Augusta with light frost in the morning, then fine and partly cloudy through the day, 19 the high. Kadina, showers and 16. A shower or two clearing at Port Pirie, otherwise partly cloudy, reaching 16 degrees. Clare, showers with a top of 12. Broken Hill, partly cloudy and 16 tomorrow. To the weekend now, and we can expect mostly fine conditions on Saturday with showers over Adelaide and a little more cloud about the lower Eyre Peninsula. 17 the high for Port Augusta, Woodner and Whyella both 16, Port Pirie, Kadina and Port Lincoln 15, Broken Hill 14. Sunday, fine and partly cloudy across the region with showers again over Adelaide. Port Augusta 18, Woodner, Whyella, Port Lincoln and Port Pirie all 16, Broken Hill and Kadina both 15. And a quick look at Monday with fine and partly cloudy conditions across the board. Maximum temperatures sitting between 15 and 19 degrees. And Louise, that is the forecast, and now it's back to you.
Thank you for that, Britt. And that wraps up your local news for this evening. We'll have updates later on. We'll see you then. Good night.